video we'll be discussing about the concept of inflation. We will also discuss it with some of the examples and also some types of inflation. So before moving on to the definition of inflation, let us understand what actually inflation means with the help of some examples. Let us start with the first example. Supposingly, now we are in year 2012 and I have a 10 rupee note with me. Now, if I go outside to buy with this 10 rupee note, what all can I buy? Maybe I can buy one packet of chips, 2 to 3 toffees and also one samosa. So that was all about year 2012. But now let us take the same example, the same 10 rupee note in year 2021, which is actually the present time. If I go with this 10 rupee note outside today, what all can I get? I can hardly get only one samosa or one packet of chips worth 10 rupees. So here's the comparison. Earlier in 2012, with this same 10 rupee note, I was able to purchase 3 things. But in year 2021, I have to make a choice, either a packet of chips or one samosa. So now, what has happened? This is actually inflation because my purchasing power has gone down. Although this 10 rupee note seems the same, but its value has decreased and gone down, which means my purchasing power has gone down. So this was the first example of inflation. I hope you have got a certain idea of what inflation actually is. Now let us understand it with the help of some definition. Inflation is the decline in the purchasing power of a given currency because the cost of living goes up. I hope you understood this definition of inflation. But to make it more understandable to you that what actually is inflation, let us take some more examples. Supposingly, some years back, I could buy cooking oil just for rupees 100. But now, in year 2021, I have to pay rupees 150 for that same cooking oil. So, in this case, rupees 50 I have to pay more in buying the same commodity that I used to buy few years back with just rupees 100. So this is actually what inflation is. In our previous example also, we could find that there was a sudden drop in the purchasing power of money. So the next question that you may have in your mind could be that how is this inflation measured? The measure of inflation is actually inflation rate, which is measured in percentage. Let us now discuss types of inflation. So there are 4 types of inflation. The first one is creeping inflation. Second one is walking inflation. The third one is galloping inflation. And the last one is hyperinflation. So we will understand all the 4 types of inflation. Creeping inflation is inflation when the inflation rate is 3% or it is more lower to it. And this type of inflation is actually beneficial for the economy because it promotes demand among customers. So this was all about creeping inflation. Now let us talk about walking inflation. So walking inflation is when inflation rate is between 3% to 10% in a year. This type of inflation is actually harmful for an economy because it heats up the economy. People want to buy more and more because they don't want to buy in the coming years because they also know that the purchasing power of money in coming years would decline. So this is harmful for any economy. The third type of inflation that we will be studying is galloping inflation. Galloping inflation is actually when the rate of inflation is more than 10%, and this type of inflation create havoc for an economy because it is more harmful than walking inflation. This type of inflation not only affects the customers but also the stability and the credibility of the government of the nation. So this type of inflation should be avoided by any type of country and economy. And the last type of inflation is hyperinflation. Hyperinflation occurs when the inflation rate is actually 50% or more than 50%. This is actually a nightmare for any nation. So this should be always avoided because it is worse than galloping inflation. We have understood that what inflation is, what are the types of inflation, and we have also supported it with some examples so that it could become more understandable to you. I hope you understood this topic of inflation.